Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Team Shop update number 8. So this time around there aren't too many changes. What we have is that Holter's pet is now available. He's going to be available for the next 28 days, and like usual he costs 2.2k coins. Darmith's pet is still available, and oddly enough his price slightly went up. He's 1.15k coins now. He used to only cost 1.1k coins, so that's a little odd. But moving on, we now have Master Skeel in the team shop, and Master Skeel replaced Reptile. So besides being able to buy generals and generals pets in the team shop, Social Point always puts in one random legendary, and this time it's Master Skeel. We have General Nishant, who now costs 1.05k coins, whereas he used to cost 1.15k coins. We have General Holter, who used to cost 1.05k coins, and now he costs 1k coins. So both Nishant and Holter, the price went down. And the monster to have the most significant drop would probably be General Alces, who dropped 200 coins. He used to cost 1k coins and now he's only 800. So General Alces is the newest general to cost 800 coins, and this pretty much means he's going to be costing 800 coins for a while. And General Shannara is still there, General Uria is right there, General Darmith, General Atum, and unfortunately General Ingvar has left the team shop. And this also means that the next monster to potentially leave the team shop is going to be General Atum, followed by General Darmith. So if you haven't gotten your hands on a General Atum yet, be sure to get him this month. As for the epics, we have Pandaval and Plethodon, and I just gotta say, Pandaval is not worth buying. 700 coins for this monster would be a total waste. Plethodon would be a better purchase. He costs 100 coins less and he's honestly a better monster. But anyways, most people here aren't concerned about epics, so I'm just gonna skip them entirely. Now before I give you guys my thoughts and opinions on who I think is worth buying, I always have to start these videos off by saying this. At the end of the day, there's only one person that can decide what monster is worth buying, and that person is you. You're the one in control of your own game. You're the only one who knows how hard you had to work in order to get the number of coins that you have. You're the only one that has access to all the information. So number one, when deciding what monster you should purchase, I always say go with whatever you want. If for the longest time you wanted to get a monster because he looks really cool, let's just say the monster isn't even good and you just want that monster because it looks amazing, forget everyone else's opinion, forget if they tell you that that monster sucks, forget if they tell you that that monster is not worth it, forget if I tell you that it's not worth getting that monster. At the end of the day, you're the one making the decision, you're the one that got your war coins, and if you want that monster, if getting that monster makes you happy, go ahead and do it. You don't have to listen to anyone else. So to summarize all that really shortly, get the monster that makes you happy. The second thing I have to say is to get the monster that is the most useful, and specifically I talk about that in terms of team war. And what I mean by that is, if you're missing an element, if you're missing any single element, be sure to occupy that element. So let's say you have every single element except fire. If I don't recommend General Darmith as the number one monster to buy, you still need General Darmith more than you need any other monster, because when you're in a team wars, when the rule requires a fire element and you're missing a fire monster, you're already at a disadvantage, which means your whole team is also at a disadvantage. So be sure to get the monster that is going to be the most useful to you. And now that I've said those 2 points, I can safely say what monsters I would buy and in what order. And it goes without saying, the number one monster I think everyone should purchase is General Atum. And there's several reasons. The first reason is, this monster might be the next monster to go. Just like General Ingvar is no longer available, I believe General Atum will no longer be available. But even more importantly, this is one of the best earth monsters ever to be released. This monster has an AoE stun. He has a 0 cooldown, 60 damage skill, and a special skill at that. It's not even earth based. This monster can give his whole team a full life shield. That's double life to all of your teammates. And if this monster is ever by himself, if it's ever 1 against 3, you can still potentially win. He has a skill called Hard as a Rock, which gives himself double life, and he reflects 100% of the damage he receives. This monster is incredibly good, one of the best earth monsters in the game by far. So my number one recommendation is to get General Atum, and quite possibly you might want to purchase a few of him. Next in line is the crowd favorite General Darmith. General Darmith is without a doubt one of the best fire monsters in the entire game. This monster has incredible stats and complementary skills to go along with his stats. His most popular move is Dragon Berserker, which gives him double damage and allows him to ignore 50% of incoming damage, which is the same as giving him a full life shield. So to keep things really simple, let's assume General Darmith had 1k life. If Darmith uses Dragon Berserker, he would have to be hit with a skill that takes away 2k damage, so that's amazing. On top of that, if he ever gets possessed, rather than just wasting your turn recharging, you can use Dragon Berserker. He can ignore 50% of incoming damage and give himself double damage. He's a phenomenal monster. So number 2 goes to General Darmith. I would get Atum, then General Darmith. And after General Darmith, it gets a little more tricky. So usually it's easy to recommend monsters because you can just go by the lowest price. 800 is the best purchase price here. But I'm actually going to skip all of the generals and go to Master Skeel. There was a time when Master Skeel was one of the best dark monsters in the game. I think in the current meta he's a little outclassed now, but that doesn't mean he's not good. In fact, Master Skeel has one of the best skill sets in the entire game. This monster has a possession skill that also blinds and dazes. And you might be thinking, armor, that's not good because then the enemy monster isn't going to hit his own teammate. But it actually is good because it can kind of act like an immobilizer for 2 turns. Granted, it's not like a Mega Sin or anything, it does have potential. So for example, if he uses this skill against an enemy monster, the first turn that enemy monster is possessed, so it's going to use up stamina attacking its teammate. Now because it's blinded and dazed, it does have negative 75% accuracy, so of course it might miss the teammate. But nonetheless, blind and dazed, they don't last one turn, they last several turns. So when it goes back to that monster, it's still going to have blind and dazed, it's still going to have negative 75% accuracy. So when that monster tries to attack your team, it still potentially will miss. So his possession skill is actually kind of like a mediocre 2-turn immobilizer. Now if that doesn't satisfy you, he also has a stun skill, which having a stun skill for dark monsters is a great thing to have. And if that still doesn't satisfy you, he has an AoE skill that gives 2 negative random effects to the enemy monsters. And even more on top of that, he has another AoE that gives 1 random negative effects to the enemy monster. He actually has 2 of those skills, one of which is a 0-turn cooldown, which I like to use on my Master Skeel. So overall, I would say Master Skeel is amazing because he can give negative effects, he can stun, possess, blind and daze. He has so many different effects he can dish out to the enemy monsters. But again, I have to reiterate that in this current meta, he's a little outclassed because Darks have monsters like Krampus, Mommy, Will Razorface. There are so many good immobilizers that Master Skeel kind of gets overshadowed. Nonetheless, he is still one amazing Dark monster, and I would actually recommend buying him 3rd. And in some cases, you could even buy Master Skeel before you get General Darmith, just because General Darmith is probably going to be around for 2 more months. But you can probably expect Master Skeel to be replaced with another random legendary monster. So now we choose between deciding General Alces, General Shannara, or General Uria. And between these 3 monsters, I would recommend buying General Alces before the other 2 monsters. And the reason my emphasis is on General Alces is because you have to consider the different elements. General Alces is a nature monster, and currently in the game there aren't too many amazing nature monsters. And General Alces is probably one of the better nature monsters. So 800 coins for him is a good deal. General Alces has a stun skill that also gives him life regeneration. General Alces is probably most well known for his skill that can recover 100% of any of your allies' health. So overall, I would say General Alces is the 4th pick. Now after General Alces, we have to decide between General Shannara and General Uria, and I'm actually going to lean towards General Uria. And at this point, there's no clear answer of who's better, who's worse. The reason I would go with General Uria over General Shannara is because when we look at the magic category, there are just so many incredible monsters. We have Egg Eater, we have Violet, we have Galante. There are so many options to choose from the magic category that General Shannara just doesn't make the list. 2 of the most popular monsters you should get that are magic are Violet and Galante. So if you already have your hands on both of those monsters, there's really no need to add General Shannara. But going back to General Uria, he's also a pretty good monster. Now unfortunately for him, like many of the other Thunder monsters, because in the shadow of monsters like Zyla and Voltic, they don't really get mentioned, but General Uria is pretty good. There's a 65 damage, 1 cooldown skill that is special based, so if you give this monster strong enough strength runes, he can take down just about anyone with that skill. On top of that, he has a 60 damage, 1 cooldown skill that can also blind, and he even has a 40 damage AoE. Overall, General Uria, he's a pretty good choice, and in the current team shop, I would buy him 5th. And then I would move over and get General Shannara. And General Shannara, she isn't a deny monster, she's actually more of an attacker that can dish out effects. So one thing I do like about General Shannara is that she has a 0 cooldown stun skill, which can definitely come in handy if it's ever magic metal and you're going up against an enemy Timerion that does cooldowns activated. You at least still have your skill Mystic Teleport and you're going to be able to stun the enemy immobilizer. And on top of that, you are of course magic, so you can use some of her magic skills to take out Timerion whenever the cooldown disappears. And on that note of cooldowns, she has 2 skills, one of which is called Fire Astral Form, the other one of which is Nature Astral Form. One of them gives burning, one of them gives poison. I'm sure you can figure out which does which. They're 50 damage, they're magic based, they have a 1-turn cooldown, so again, going up against Timerion, she's a top choice. But again, there are so many amazing magic monsters that I don't see her really being picked unless there are certain circumstances that calls for her abilities. And then at this point, it gets pretty easy to tell you guys who I think you should get, because now we can just focus on the price. General Holter costs 1k coins, General Nation costs 1.05k coins, so as you can see, all of the generals will eventually cost 800 coins. Get General Holter, then get General Nation. Although honestly, from this point on, I wouldn't buy any of the monsters because they don't cost 800 coins. Again, really quickly, Master Skeel is an exception because he's not one of the generals, he's not one of the general's pets, he's never going to cost 800 coins. But Holter and Nisha, at this point, they're not worth buying. And I could only recommend getting these monsters, again, is if you're missing a monster in that category. So for example, if you have no dark monsters, then in this case I would say go ahead and get General Nishant, get yourself a dark monster. But anyways, Holter and Nishant, they're both pretty good attackers. General Holter is probably one of the best monsters that can deal a lot of spread damage. He can magnetize all of the enemies, he can give himself double damage, he has a 45 damage metal based AoE, so for spread damage he's your go-to guy. General Nishant, also a pretty good dark attacker. He has a skill called Shadow Form, which gives him increased accuracy, gives him a damage boost, which is an increase of 50% to damage, and he can give himself the ability Phantom, which basically allows him to ignore all incoming damage for one turn. And on top of that, he has a skill called Dark Supremacy, which can make one enemy monster very weak to dark attacks. So in Team Wars, if you use this skill versus a dark monster, you can follow it up with a dark based attack and dish out some serious damage. So both Holter and Nishant, they're good choices for attackers, but again, because they don't cost 800 coins, I wouldn't recommend them. And next we have Darmith's pet, and I gotta say, he's as vanilla as they come. This monster doesn't really dish out that many effects. No surprise that he can give burning. He can also give himself a damage boost, but other than that, there's no other effects that he gives. He also has a 0 cooldown 60 damage special base skill, so that's pretty good when going up against another fire monster. But again, in the fire category, there are monsters that are way superior. There's monsters like Mega Ostium that can actually give a stun, Greedy Dragon who can also give a stun, again General Darmith who's also available for 800 coins that can ignore 50% of incoming damage, so there's just way better choices to pick than Darmith's pet. And last but not least is Holter's pet. Holter's pet, he just costs way too much to satisfy purchasing him. He costs 2.2k coins. With a price like this, you can get your hands on 2 Master Skeels, or you can get your hands on almost 3 other generals that cost 800 coins. You can get 3 General Atums, which means you're going to be able to rank him up. So at his price, I would definitely not recommend purchasing him. Just wait till he costs less. As you can see, you just look over to the right. Darmith's pet now costs 1.15k coins, so you know that in the coming months, Holter's pet is going to be dropping too, just like all the generals dropped, so there's no point in wasting so many coins. And really quickly before I wrap up, I also have to say, if you spend your 800 coins and get yourself a General Atum and you're satisfied, just keep saving your coins, because keep in mind there's also times when the team shop will actually sell runes, and that's actually when you want to spend all of your coins. When there are runes available in the team shop, you know, level 5, level 7, level 9 runes, that's when you want to spend your coins, get your hands on all those runes. And I have a feeling that there might be runes in the team shop soon, because a fraternity event was announced a while back, and usually when we have that event, we also have runes in the team shop. But taking it back to what I said at the beginning of the video, always get the monster that is going to make you the most happy. And with that being said, thank you to everyone who made it to the end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, share this video with all your friends. Like always, I hope everyone has an amazing day or an amazing night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions.